クラウド業者はたくさんあるんですけども、何がいいかってよく分からなかったんですね。でそういう中でやっぱり一番信頼できたのが Amazon さんでした。
What AWS does is allows us to devote all of our mind share to our customers instead of to managing a bunch of server infrastructure, which, while important, isn't most core to our business.
The reason why AWS Cloud, I can summarize three aspects in that sense. One is Amazon is technological leader. Second, Amazon has a global footprint. Third, very innovative ecosystem Amazon has. So three reasons makes me too happy and to select Amazon. I cannot imagine NTT Docomo without AWS Cloud.
If Amazon Web Services were taken away from us, I would burst into tears. I would burst into tears, a lot of my colleagues would burst into tears, and what really would happen is everything would slow down.
My team recently went to cloud school, courtesy of AWS, and straight away we're looking at different things we can do and different products we can use. We kind of expand our usage of the platform.
E a AWS vem propiciar flexibilidade, em termos de escalabilidade, em termos de segurança, para que a gente possa estar tendo essa infraestrutura para suportar esse crescimento que acontece num único dia, num único final de semana.
AWS has already helped us achieve speed to market. We have been able to deploy applications in less than 3 weeks. And we have also been able to reduce cost by more than 80%.
Amazon Web Services entwickelt sich einfach wahnsinnig schnell, ähnlich wie ein Startup. Ist kostengünstig, flexibel. Wir haben eine großartige Partnerschaft mit Amazon Web Services und sind deshalb 100% zufrieden.
AWS を入れることで、従来オンプレミスで自社運営していた時に比べると、3割から4割のコストダウンが見込まれています。人事情報システムについては約 40%。現在コストダウンの効果が出ています。
When you say web scale, what you're really saying is can scale to infinity, and that's not actually true ever, but AWS comes as close to being true as anything that actually exists on the web today.
AWS サミット東京2014へようこそお越しいただきました。Day1 オープニングキーノートの開演です。Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Amazon.com Chief Technology Officer, Dr. Werner Vogels.
Good morning, Tokyo. I'm humbled to be here and with all of you. Well over 11,000 people have registered for these 2 days of AWS Summit. That is amazing. And really grateful that you have taken out a day of your busy lives to spend with us and to learn more about AWS. One thing that you may have seen it on the introduction slides, I want to remind you that the Twitter hashtag for today is #AWS Summit. And if you want to, let's say, if you want to complain about me directly, you can use my first name. That's my Twitter handle, Werner. So please, feel free to contact us on Twitter. What I want to talk to you about today is something that most enterprises are concerned about today. Already a number of years ago, Gartner put up this slide at a major IT conference, where they had already noticed that it was massively out of sync between enterprise companies and young companies. Because enterprise companies had product cycles that ran in years, while young businesses, especially those that build their business on the internet, are moving in a matter of hours or months. And the result of that has been now 5, 6 years later, that actually the big household brand names have become these internet companies. Airbnb, Spotify, Dropbox, you name it, are the current household brands where the enterprises have to compete with. Let's take a look at one of them. Let's take a look at Airbnb. Don't know if you know Airbnb, they're a brokerage service between people that have rooms or apartments for rent and people that are looking for one or more nights to stay somewhere. Each night, more than 150,000 people are spending a night in an Airbnb brokered room or apartment. These are numbers that any large hotel chain would kill for. Let's take a look at their infrastructure. First, let's look at the number of guests. In the early of last year, they had through their business, they've been in business for a number of years, about 4 million guests. And if you look now, in that short period between beginning of last year and let's say mid of this year, they have added 11 million guests. This is an incredible, successful business. How does their IT side look like? So the number of instances they use, EC2 instances, is 1,300. They must have a massive IT department to take care of this. They have tens and tens of terabytes of user-contributed data, such as images and photos and things like that. But if you ask them, why are you using AWS? Because they run for 100% on AWS. They will tell you this: we only have a 5-people IT team. And if you saw in the video before I came on stage, the reason for them to use cloud is such that they can focus on building a better product and that they do not have to focus on the infrastructure side of things. It's all about moving fast. It's all about being agile, and it's all about building exactly those products that your customers want. It is, of course, that they're not the only ones making use of cloud in the hospitality space. Many of the larger enterprises, the larger hotel chains, have caught on as well. Take, for example, the Four Seasons and the Intercontinental Hotel Group. They're running their digital properties on AWS, such as their reservation systems and things like that. But some companies, some of these chains, even take it further. Kempinski is a high-end luxury hotel chain with hotels all over the world. They're a very old, established business. They have realized that in the high-end luxury hotel business, competition is all going to be about digital services delivered to their customers. And they've made the decision that they should no longer be using their best engineers for infrastructure, but for building better products for their customers. So Kempinski is going all in on AWS, meaning that they're moving everything, supply chain, vendor management, ERP, everything is moving on to AWS, so that they can use their best engineers to build better products. And so on one hand, here you have the young businesses that make use of AWS to be successful. And actually, if you talk to them, they will tell you they could not have been successful without these cloud services available. And then you have the established big hotel chains making use of cloud as well. But it doesn't stop there. There's many, of course, small and medium and boutique hotels that are also making use of cloud, although they may not know it. Companies like HotelLogic and SiteMinder provide enterprise-grade property management systems for small and boutique hotels, such that they can integrate in real time with big search engines, such as Kayak and others. What does this mean? That means that suddenly in hospitality, IT doesn't matter anymore. Remember, there was this famous paper of Nick Carr that said IT doesn't matter. He didn't mean that IT didn't matter. He just meant that IT is not a competitive differentiator because we all have to do it. And so AWS has created a level playing field in hospitality, where access to IT resources no longer means whether you are successful or not. It's all about what is the quality of the product that you're going to deliver to your customers. Many enterprises today will tell you agility, becoming more agile, is their main focus, and how to transform their organization into a more agile, faster-moving one. Enterprises also come to the realization that to compete in this new global market, they need to be able to move faster and be more customer-focused. But why actually is this the case? Yeah? If we take a step back and look at the larger economic patterns, this is what's happening. Yeah, there's an abundance of products in the market. There's increasing competition. There is increasing consumer choice. Who decides what to consume at what moment? There's a decreasing loyalty of consumers towards brands. And of course, combine that with a lack of capital, it becomes extremely uncertain whether the products that you're building, whether you can sell them to the same group of people that you sold them to before. Maybe 10 years ago as an enterprise, you could be assured that the next generation of your product would be sold to exactly the same set of customers as the previous product. That's no longer the case. That's completely out of the window because of the competition and because of the decrease in consumer loyalty. So what happens if you're uncertain? You have to use different resource models. You have to acquire resources on demand, release them when you no longer need them, only pay for what you've used, use others' core competencies, and you actually have to shift CapEx to OpEx. This is actually something that we've been doing in every part of our enterprise already for decades, except in IT. If you look at, for example, at HR, we will hire more temporary workers if we need more workers. You will release them if you no longer need them. You will hire people with particular competencies for particular jobs, and you pay them for what they've used. And we have this in many other parts of our organization as well as in manufacturing and many other parts, except in IT. And why not in IT? It's because of the traditional vendors have been holding us hostage. Because the only way to drive costs down was to make very long-term contracts with these single providers. And if there's something necessary, if you want to become more agile, it is to have different resource models that are more flexible for you. Now, if we talk about agile enterprises, customers always ask me, tell us more about Amazon the retailer. Because even after 15 years, this appears to be still a very fast-moving enterprise. Let me take you through a little journey about the principles behind Amazon.com. In 1997, Jeff Bezos wrote a famous letter to shareholders in which he lays out the principles of the company. He started off with probably something that you might know well, is that this is a company that is built for the long term. Yeah? It's all about long-term success. Even the long term might be something like reaching out beyond your own lifetime. What do you build if you have that kind of horizon to think about? A second part in it really comes down to the agility principle. We will experiment continuously, we will measure relentlessly, and we will learn from that. And either amplify what we were doing or pull the plug on it And if you're able to reduce the cost of experimentation, you're able to do much more of them. Now, Amazon's core principle is to be the Earth's most customer-centric company. And what does that mean? It means that you have to listen to your customers very closely. You have to use then our innovative powers to invent on their behalf, and then create systems that are personalized for that particular customer. Sometimes, if you think about innovation, we always think about new things, stuff that nobody did before. But within Amazon, we realize that innovation sometimes is about the things that are never going to change. What are the things that you can do that will matter forever for your customers? For example, take the customer experience. The larger the catalog is, the more work we can put in building a large catalog, the higher the likelihood is that customers can find what they're looking for. Yeah. Whatever work we can do, whatever innovations we can do to drive efficiency such that we can lower our pricing will benefit our customers forever. Nobody's going to say 10 years from now, I love Amazon, I wish they were more expensive. Convenience is one of these other directors. Yeah? Being able to give guarantees on shipping is a very important principle for our customers. So anything that we can do to increase the size of the catalog, to lower our prices, to give harder guarantees on shipping, will benefit our customers forever. I call this building flywheels. The flywheel is a well-known engineering phenomenon where if you put more energy into a flywheel, it will stay in there forever. We also do this in AWS. Look, for example, at this flywheel. Yeah? The more AWS usage happens, and there's a number of inputs into that AWS usage, yeah? the more infrastructure we have to acquire, the more economies of scale we get so that we can negotiate better deals with our vendors, and then combine that with efficiency innovations that we do in the data center, it will allow us to drive our pricing down. And lower pricing will drive more customers onto the platform, which again will drive more usage, and you can see you have a perpetuum mobile here. It will continue on forever. And this principle has helped us reduce our cost, lower our pricing 44 times since 2006 without any competitive pressure. We also have a development methodology that is really customer focused. We want to make sure that we develop exactly that and only that what we want to develop for our customers. Yeah, if you are a very engineering-driven organization, like Amazon is, the risk is there that you start adding all sorts of features that are non-essential for the customer at this moment. So our development methodology begins with writing a press release. This is not a press release that will go out on the press wires, but we write a press release because in it you describe in very simple and clear words exactly what your product is going to do. Then you write the FAQ, the 20 questions that someone might ask about your product and the answers to it. Then you write the user interaction. You write some of the development documentation. And all of these things you do is before you even draw one architectural diagram or have written one line of code. You do this to make sure that you exactly build what you want to build for your customers. I'd like to actually add a quote here from a very famous Japanese person. Joito, the director of the MIT Media Lab, said this: if you want to increase innovation, you have to lower the cost of failure. And with this, remember the thing I said earlier, if you want to improve innovation, you have to make experimentation very cheap. And with that, you can drive agility in every organization. And to talk to you about how a traditional enterprise has become more agile by the usage of cloud services, I'd like to invite on stage Eto-san of entity Docomo, who will talk about their use of AWS. Thank
you. Good morning, everybody. My name is Eto from entity Docomo. I would like to spend some time giving you this presentation. About 6 months ago at Las Vegas at the reInvent 2013, NTT Docomo made an announcement saying that we use thousands of EC2 instance. That's for Shabete concierge voice processing system. And in this announcement, what I wanted to say was that as NTT Docomo, we have entered into a new development ecosystem, and we mentioned that we made a determination that we wanted to start a new development method. And in Ito-san's quote, he mentioned that you have to reduce the cost of failures and how you can improve agility, and that's exactly what we're trying to do with AWS. In 2010, just looking back, actually our development style was like this, which is a waterfall model. And this waterfall model for a telecommunication company was quite obvious, and this method is still correct. A lot of the large communication infrastructure and social infrastructures will continue to be based on this waterfall methodology. But in the service development or web service developments where there are a lot of uncertainties, we were still using this waterfall method at the time of 2010. And we had an intention of wanting to change this. And that was one of the reasons why we went to AWS. And by using AWS, our culture is starting to change. Meaning the culture for development is starting to change. It's not just simply using AWS Cloud as a data center. And if that's it, we will not change anything, meaning that the development methodology need to change from Cloud 1.0 to Cloud 2.0, and we need to change our mindset. And by using the cloud, a new development community will start to interact with us, and by doing so, our mindset started to change, meaning that we are designing to be failed. We are failing cheaply and quickly, and we see our development partners instead of suppliers, and we believe we look at them as joint responsible development partners, and that is starting to change. And you see some points here, but for example, we try to start small and grow large, and we would move from the conventional design and identify what's actually the principle. And by focusing on these areas, we're starting to change significantly. And the voice recognition agent is actually developed by a few people, and the development period is quite short. And the so-called DevNops, meaning that we're developing while we do the maintenance, and by quickly developing and by looking at the response in the market, we are making changes. So the restartup mindset can be achieved even in a large enterprise, is what we recognize by using AWS. In addition to the AWS scalability and by working with the ecosystem of AWS, we were able to win this transformation. Even at a large enterprise, we are able to do this agile development, and this is becoming our pride at our company. And when we use AWS, so we would have this kind of discussion, the question about security and doubts about performance, and they may not guarantee the SLA so much, and you don't want to disrupt the current ecosystem, and the switching cost is going to be expensive, so we shouldn't do it. And you do a lot of thinking, but at the end, most of the case, you end up not using AWS, and we did a lot of discussions like that. But there are some situations when you're forced to use it. For example, we had to develop the voice recognition agent in a few months, and also you have to establish a scalability platform in a few months, and that's why we dove in. So diving into something new, meaning challenging something new, is the most important part that I would like to convey to everyone. By using this anyway, you can know what the outcome is, and you can tell what was good and what sort of new services were developed. And by analyzing that, you're able to return that as a feedback, and you can continue using it. While using this, you can understand what the cloud is and how far it can be used for. And with the evolution of the function of AWS, you can start to feel where you can use AWS. And actually, I have one of the breakout sessions in the afternoon, and I'm making this announcement. But in the enterprise systems, there's the web services and the business systems and the mission critical systems. And we already dove in 2012. A lot of the web services are being developed on AWS. And as I mentioned, the new culture or the new ecosystems are used to make the development. And we went through a lot of troubles, and I never thought that we would use AWS in the business systems, but we ended up diving into AWS in 2014. For the analytics of the business system, we are planning to use AWS this year. And this is what I'm going to announce in the afternoon. With the business system, we will be using Redshift, the Docomo's data center, and by using VPC, we will connect the Redshift service to start the analytics. And the data will be petabytes to tens of petabytes, and it's going to be quite large. And in summary, using AWS is bringing new culture to the company. You're able to try out a new development methodology, and these are the very good positive outcomes. And what's important is to dive into anything. Challenging and using is the most important part. Once you challenge and start using, you can identify new opportunities, and that's what we felt through our experience. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Etta-san, for your inspiring presentation. A few things that I want to pick up out of there is, at least one thing, is that it's a bit like the Nike commercial. Just do it. There's a big difference between IT in the past and modern IT based on cloud. You can start any moment, and you'll probably spend $5 with us before you start to figure out whether this is something that you might actually be using or not. For example, you might use our analytics service, like Amazon Redshift, to be able to look at, would new style analytics be something that I would want to use? You figure that out by probably spending $10, $20, or $30 on Amazon. You can just do it. There's no long-term contract. There's no commitment from you that once you started using the service that you have to continue to use it. You are in control. This is one of the major things that we've tried to achieve, not just by building technology, but also by building a different business model to go with it, such that the control would shift from the provider to the customer. And in that sense, I was very happy to hear from Eto-san that he sees us more as a partner than as a vendor. Remember that only if you are successful on our platform, we are successful as well. In the old world, the salesperson would walk away with a $100,000 or a $500,000 check, and you would never see him again. In our case, Our account managers are continuously active with you to help you be successful on our platform, even helping you reduce your bill with AWS. Now, 8 years ago, this was how our world looked like. In 2006, we launched Amazon S3, the simple storage service. Pretty quickly, we added compute to it and networking capabilities, such as virtual private cloud. We added databases. We added analytic services. And the one I really want to emphasize there is our data warehouse service, Amazon Redshift, which is the fastest growing service on AWS ever. Turns out, everybody wants to do analytics today. Everybody wants to have a data warehouse at their fingertips, even if it's just for a few hours on a Thursday afternoon. Being able to instantiate a data warehouse without having to go to IT, without having to ask permission, is something that enables the agility in many business units. We've also delivered a whole range of application services that help you to focus purely on building functionality for your application, not having to focus on the glue that holds many of the pieces of your application together. And then we've also delivered a whole range of services that help you manage your AWS environment. Whether it's OpsWorks, or whether it is CloudFormation, or whether it is Elastic Beanstalk, all of these help you become more convenient in using AWS. The way that we do this, deliver all of these services, has been based on your feedback. You, as our customers, drive our roadmap. And whether that is through conversations with CIOs, from which we learn what are still the big pain points in the enterprise, or whether it is very close interaction about how you are using our service and what kind of features you would like us to build next. This relationship between our innovative powers and the feedback from our customers, the collaboration with our customers, is really something truly epic. If you look at last year, for example, we delivered well over 280 new major features and services to our customers. Each and every one driven by your feedback. Basically, you are determining our roadmap. Because we do this for you. We build this for our customers. And as such, you are the ones who are best suited in giving us input in what we should be building next. So let's take a look at some of the things that we launched in the past months. We are already on our second generation of EC2 instances, but we added a new low-cost instance type called T2. This has standard baseline performance, but the ability to sometimes burst to higher CPU performance if you need that. We developed a very interesting CPU credit mechanism there to support this. We also launched our new EBS, our block storage service based on SSDs. So EBS general purpose is now the standard EBS service that you get. Again, consistent baseline performance, but the ability to sometimes burst up to 3,000 IOPS. It still does mean that the other EBS versions are also still available. EBS provisioned IOPS still allows you to run massive database workloads with all the way up to 48,000 IOPS if you need that. And then there is still the third one, EBS based on magnetic drives, that you can use as well. So here we give you options to choose which one to use under which conditions, together with a pricing trade-off. Something that we launched last week is logs for CloudWatch. It is very important for our customers to not only get system metrics, but also be able to inspect the logs that are being generated all over their applications in one place. So logs for CloudWatch really solves the problem of the collection and analytics of log files. And it allows you to create alarms and metrics based on the information that you store in log files. Something that we launched last year, AWS CloudTrail, gives you an auditing mechanism for calling each of the APIs within AWS. And since a few weeks, since 2 weeks, this is now also available in the Tokyo region. But I will announce today another service that is available in Tokyo. This is Amazon Kinesis. Amazon Kinesis is a real-time ingestion service, meaning that you can generate enormous amounts of data, use Kinesis to ingest that. It will be automatically replicated over 3 availability zones, and then you'll get real-time processing of that data. We'll auto-scale the workers for you to ensure timely processing of your data. And already, a number of Japanese customers are making use of this. Sushiro, for example, the well-known sushi chain, has instrumented each of their sushi dishes, of which they sell well over 1 billion a year, and they're tracking exactly when these dishes were made, when they were consumed, and as such create real-time analytics based on these products. Pencil is a web analytics service. Appalachian actually is a gaming platform. And Gulliver, the second-hand car company, is tracking all of their car in the state of the cars that they're selling. All making use of Kinesis as a reliable input stream and real-time processing, so every one of these companies has a real-time view of what's happening in their organization. And so these broad and deep services, this wide range of services, helps many companies focus exactly on the products that they have to build instead of having to worry about the infrastructure pieces. And I'd like to invite Docomo-san of H.I.S. on stage to talk about how this broad set of services has helped his company to become successful.
皆さん
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Takano. I'm from H.I.S. So without further ado, I'd like to talk about how we are using Amazon Web Service in H.I.S. And this is the summary of our company, and I've skipped this. And currently in 56 countries, we have offices in 117 cities. And the newest one was in Tashkent. So currently we are in 57 countries. And since the 80s, we put more focus upon the Japanese travelers to the world. So it was focused upon outbound travelers. So currently, the Southeast Asian people are going to the other countries of the world. So we are expanding our the external offices outside Japan, and brand awareness level in the world is still low. So we are doing this kind of advertisement in Thailand, and also we do have 12 or 13 stores in Thailand, and the same is true for Indonesia. And we will have an Olympic Games, so the targeting upon inbound travelers to Japan, we are promoting the trip to Tokyo. And so in October, the October is the peak time for the inbound travelers from Thailand, so we put focus upon around that time. And to be able to cope with our globalization, we selected Amazon Web Service as a partner, and we are really fully utilizing Amazon Web Services. And the challenges that we had at the beginning was we are service the company, so we didn't have enough human resources for IT department, and the in various different parts of the world, the needs came up, but we couldn't afford hiring IT people in all over the place. And think global, act local is our motto, and we try to think globally, and we are globalized ourselves. However, we cannot make the huge investment in everything. And the capacity, there are lots of fluctuations. The seasonal the fluctuations is very big in the case of the tourist industry. And what is most important is speed. So the previous speaker was talking about the implementation in 2 months. But we have to open up a store in Thailand very quickly, and if we are just based in Japan, we cannot catch up with that speed. And we have human resources everywhere in the world, so by fully utilizing Amazon Web Services, we can control all the infrastructure from Japan. And it doesn't require a huge initial investment. And the flexibility, we have to cope with the fluctuations in the demands, so resources should be able to increase and decrease freely. And using Amazon Web Service, the meticulous sizing is not necessary. And the most important the part is speed, and also security and SLA must be maintained. So we try not to have our own infrastructure, but so that our IT department can spend more time for customers. And this shows what we have been doing so far. So since 2012, we started thinking about the use of AWS, but we were just thinking about it. And when we decided to use AWS, we tried to find out what we can do with AWS. So there is no external connectivity and only static contents. Maybe we should start with such small systems. That was the idea that we came up with, and we started accordingly in 2012. However, it was quite difficult to make a judgment whether it was really successful or not. So we decided to make a step forward, but we were worried about the stability of the network connectivity, and there can be lots of different connections between the systems. So we decided to use direct connect of AWS, and we connected our data center with AWS. And if we can connect with AWS in a stable manner, and if we can provide a constant service to the customers, then we should choose moving toward AWS, we thought. And the optional tours, rent-a-car service, we widened the scope of the use of AWS to these areas. And in the past, we thought about what kind of service can be appropriate for AWS. However, now we start with the AWS. So first of all, we have AWS and what kind of a service we can add to AWS. That's the way of thinking right now. And we believe that we can handle everything in a faster manner by using AWS. So that's about how we selected AWS in our global strategy. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Takano-san. This is a story I've heard several times before, that especially when it comes to international expansion, often IT is seen as the blocker. And I'm very grateful to hear more and more of these stories, that because of AWS, the IT organization now can be seen as the innovator or as the enabler of innovator. They're no longer in the sort of the blocking in the path of getting things done. So it's a really great story. So we see AWS appearing everywhere. You know, whether it's the whole range of different use cases, whether it's new workloads or dev and test or migration, or even sometimes going all in. We also see it appear in almost every type of company. And one particular area, I think, that is increasingly important for developers and for businesses is that of mobile applications. It is clearly that the world of mobile first is already here. Quite a few companies are building their first product as a mobile product. And there's great examples. For example, the example of NHK, who built second screen technology for their Red and White Year-End Song Festival, where viewers could interact with the festival through second screen technologies. We have a whole range of these kind of examples where really engaging applications are being built on mobile that all connect back to sort of very rich back-end services. Now, to make it easier for developers to build these highly reliable, multi-device, engaging applications, we've launched a range of new mobile services. Let's take a look at these. First, there is Amazon Cognito, which handles user identity and user state and syncing that user state for you. It manages identity through making use of standard available identity providers, such as Google, Facebook, and Login by Amazon, stores those credentials for you. And together with user state, this will be synchronized back into the Amazon cloud, making it available on any of the other devices or any of the other interfaces that your customers would like to use. And of course, all of this is strongly encrypted to make sure that your user's information is kept private so that only you and your user can access this data. The second challenge in the world of mobile is to track the effectiveness of your applications. By loading in the Amazon Mobile Analytics platform, you automatically get a whole range of very rich metrics around the usage of your application, about customer retention, about session length. All of these kind of things are automatically generated for you. The third part of our new services is a new Amazon Mobile SDK with a whole range of connectors that make it easy for you to connect with the Amazon backend services from your mobile device. And these three were new, launched in the past week: Cognito, Analytics, and the mobile SDK. But before that, we had already launched from our SNS service a notification, cross-platform notification service for which you can send notifications to mobile devices on any platform, whether it's iOS, Android, Windows Mobile. You can make use of SNS to send customer notifications. This range of services make it easier for you as customers or as developers to start building very rich, engaging applications and making use of the Amazon backend to make sure that your services are available over a wide range of devices that your customers may own. It is available now, and please go to aws.amazon.com/mobile if you're interested in these services. So, to the broad set of services that we already had, we've now added a new set of mobile services, making it easier for you to develop applications and focus purely on the functionality of those applications instead of the IT infrastructure that is necessary for it. Next to all these developer services, we started to also introduce enterprise applications. While talking to CIOs, we got a message next to that. They asked us to develop services around analytics, archiving, all these kind of standard IT services. They also explained to them that major pain points in their organization were around, for example, virtual desktops. It is clear that in today's modern world, bring your own device is something that is becoming more and more popular in many enterprises. For that, in that world, virtual desktops play an important role. Because as an IT organization, you can give a consistent, secure interface to your enterprise's resources. But CIOs told us that it's very hard to manage these very large-scale environments. That it is very hard for them to make sure that virtual desktops would be available over multiple data centers, to make sure that they could survive data center failures. And managing hardware and performance and all these things are really hard. And we, as Amazon Web Services, know that that is exactly our core competence. Building services at scale with rock-solid performance, reliably, securely, and cost-effectively. That we made use of these standard skills that we have, our core competencies, to develop a solution there for the virtual desktop world. So we've launched Amazon Workspaces, a virtual desktop environment for everyone to use, both individuals as well as enterprises. And it will integrate with your Active Directory and other enterprise services that you have. So this is something that we already launched at the end of last year. So what is the next enterprise IT problem that AWS is solving? Something else that CIOs told us is that enterprise document storage and sharing and collaboration is needlessly complex. The existing applications and services in that world are very heavyweight and come with a lot of administrative overhead without giving customers true flexibility. But if you're an IT organization, this is what you want. You want to have tight control over where the documents are being stored, the security around it, and strict rules about how particular documents can be shared. But if you're an end user, you want absolute flexibility. You want to make sure that you can consume or view these documents on any device that you have. You don't want additional passwords next to the company password that you already have. And you want to be able to very easily collaborate on those documents. So last week, we launched Amazon Docomo, which is a fully managed, secure document storage and sharing service for the enterprise. Docomo integrates with the enterprise services that you already have. For example, with your Active Directory. But at the same time, it makes it very easy for consumers to make use of these services. There are web interfaces, there are desktop apps for PC and Mac, and there are clients for iOS and Android. And it works really well. Docomo, Amazon Docomo, is available in limited preview at this moment. And if you go to this URL, you can sign up for the limited preview of this service. And as you can see, AWS is everywhere. And not only in the startup world, but definitely also in the enterprise. And there isn't a vertical in the enterprise world that is not making use of AWS today. Whether it's oil and gas, whether it's finance, whether it's pharma, whether it is, I don't know, hospitality, we talked about that earlier. And one of those, actually, I want to emphasize. You know, the financial sector on AWS is very strong. Actually, many of financial services companies were some of our earliest enterprise customers. Today, we see a whole range of customers out of financial services on our platform. Whether that's insurance companies, all the way over to banks. For example, 3 of the 4 largest banks in Australia are making use of AWS. Even to the point that one of them, Suncorp, is going all in. They're moving all of their services onto AWS. And we see many of the regulators understanding this as well, that the competition in the financial services world means that cloud services need to be available to all organizations. In my home country, the Netherlands, for example, the Dutch Central Bank has approved AWS for use by retail banking. And the first retail bank, Robeco, is making use of this. And actually, something very typical, the Central Bank of the Philippines, after the last typhoon, actually already motivated each and every one of the banks in the Philippines to start making use of cloud computing for disaster recovery scenarios, such that the banks would be able to restart even if new major disasters happened. And as you can see today and yesterday, this warning was not just a kid's play. For many of them, cloud computing is an ideal solution for disaster recovery. But I would like to invite one of our Japanese customers out of the financial services sector on stage. Matsumoto-san from Manex will come and talk about how they're using AWS.
皆様
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. From Manex Group, I'm the chairman and CEO. My name is Matsumoto. I'm not the CIO or CTO or the engineer. I'm the management head of the financial institute. And how we as a financial institute are using AWS, I would like to present. Our company, the Manex Group, we have the online securities companies in Japan, but not only in Japan, globally. Japan, US, and Hong Kong, we have the securities companies, regulated entity with licenses. And other than that, FX and others we have the global deployment over 150 countries around the globe. So globally, we have the businesses like so, and we have the management vision, which is global, which is the global market services and products are to be offered to the global customers. And from anywhere, the universal platform should be offered for the universal access globally. And it's to be done in-house. Many of the securities companies, the securities systems are outsourced, especially that's true in Japan. But we had built it in-house, which has a very critical implication. To our customers, the data we manage, and when something happens, we need to recover it immediately ourselves. So we have huge accountabilities for our customers. And in order to be responsible, we believe that the in-house system is indispensable. And by making it in-house, the competitive advantage can be gained in terms of the system. But in terms of accountability, it's very critical for us. On the other hand, what's happening in the world? Of course, well, I had mentioned about the importance of making things in-house, but agility, the waterfall scheme we have been developing these systems, but in order to meet the needs of the new world, or to reduce the cost, or to meet the needs of the different customers, we need the agile development. And the new devices, one after the other, we need to accommodate them. And there are more and more applications, so we need the API and releases the different systems to make it available to different users. And of course, the cloud computing. Using cloud computer, we need to run our business. And at our company and in our group, like you see here, the US equity is traded. Or the Japanese equity, there are like 4,000 brands, and while the market is open in 5 hours, in the unit of millisecond, the prices goes up and down, and we need to offer the information to our customers, which is a mission critical business for us. And we're audited and monitored by the authority, by FSA. And without stopping our business, the 4,000 brands in 5 hours, the millisecond changing information we need to offer. So that kind of mission critical services we offer. And or going forward, for the Japanese equities, using the US technology, the new platform will be utilized. So by using AWS, the Japanese equity, what we are doing is the 4,000 the brand prices are to be informed to our customers. We're using AWS for that. And it's not for HR systems or for the standard web service. It's really a mission critical service. It should never be stopped, and it's audited and monitored and supervised. And we handle the money of our customers, trading the stocks. And we realize that using AWS. Why? Because the trading situation, depending on the trend of the market, we need to make the quick decision. And we have more than 1 million customers. And for our customers offering the services, the infrastructure for that, in order to build it quickly, we need the speed. And of course, we need to make a critical judgment. So when it's busy or not, when there is a huge gap, and because of that, the size of the infrastructure and the cost, we need to be flexibly accommodating that.
Or in addition to such differences, when the services are rapidly being adopted, and because the securities world is really frightening, I mean, just within a week, the volume of transaction could be doubled. And something like that can happen in the securities world, and we needed to be able to address such scale-up requirements. And in order also to drive different innovation and to achieve globalization, we had no other ways but to use AWS. I mean, normally in a mission-critical area, maybe AWS are not used, but we use it in the mission-critical world. And originally, financial institutions are very innovative. And when you look at 10, 15 years ago, the leading-edge innovation technologies came out from financial institutions. But recently, we're not seeing much technological innovations from financial institutions, and that's something that we regret. So that's why we want to actively utilize AWS to come up with more innovations. And starting from 3:20, we have a breakout session to talk about how we are using this mission-critical services. And we have Peter Franken, our CTO, to make the presentation, so I hope you would join us if you're interested. Well, thank you very much. That was a brief introduction of our activity.
I think we're honored and humbled that Manex has selected us to run their mission-critical production workloads on. It's really a testament to how far we've come, and that we've also, at AWS, have given our customers the tools to build highly available, reliable applications, spanning multiple data centers, or even spanning multiple regions around the world to serve their customers in an always-on manner. All of these kind of things that we've talked about today, the flexibility that you get out of the whole range of different technology options that we give you, but also the flexibility that we give you with our business model, that you're no longer locked in to a vendor, that we as a vendor have to be on our toes every day to deliver the absolute best service. Otherwise, you will walk away. And you can walk away. Now, that might not be easy, but it's definitely probably the case that you're not going to bring your next project to us, or that you'll explain to your peers that they should not be using us. And as such, we really will need to be on our toes every day to deliver the absolute best service to you. Otherwise, you will take corrective action. And that's how it should be. You should be in control. So flexibility, no lock-in, definitely one of the things that sets Amazon and AWS aside from other players in the market. Secondly, is our relentless focus on driving costs down. And not only by making price reductions, but also by working closely with our customers to help them drive their bill down. For example, we give you a tool called Trusted Advisor. You can run Trusted Advisor on your infrastructure, and it will give you advice. It will give you advice about security. It will give you advice about reliability. But it will also give you advice about cost, how you can reduce your cost on the Amazon platform. And since the launch, we've given well over 1.2 million recommendations to our customers. And by following those, they have saved $300 million on our platform. And for example, one of the customers that we first experimented this with running this tool was Hungama. It's a Bollywood streaming company in India. They have been Amazon customers, AWS customers, for a very long period of time. So they knew exactly how to use our infrastructure. But after running this tool, we discovered many places where they could save more money. For example, they had EBS volumes laying around that they could easily back up and store in the archive instead of keeping them laying around. Within 1 month, Hungama had saved 1/3 of their bill with AWS. And we're more than happy to have this done. We are in a business of keeping you happy for the long term. We want to invest in your success. So, flexibility, tight cost control, cost reductions, price reductions. And the third thing that we talked about is our relentless focus on customer-driven innovation. These three things together has made that we now have hundreds of thousands of businesses running on AWS. And whether that is some of the well-known startups in this world, many of them here from Japan, or many of the enterprises of this world. And as you can see, this is just a slide with Japanese enterprises. But we could have a slide with the big brands like, Novartis, like Condé Nast, Unilever, New York Times, Shell. All of these big brand names are all making use of AWS. And actually, not just these commercials, but also public sector is making use of AWS. Many government agencies need to become more agile as well. Every dollar that they can save is a dollar that can go to more fundamental programs that help citizens. Also, many research institutions and universities are making use of AWS. For example, the Oceanographic Research Institute has put sensors at the bottoms of all the oceans. All that data is flowing into Amazon S3, where it is available for other researchers to use. The NASA Mars rover on Mars, all of its data that it creates goes via satellites directly into Amazon S3, where again it's available for other researchers to use. The 1000 Genome Project is something that we make available for free on AWS. 1,700 genomes are available now for researchers to use for free. It's a data set that is well over 200 terabytes, and as such, not something that is easily consumed on other compute installations. And the cloud is the ideal place to use it for research. Now, to enable universities and research institutions here in Japan to make use of AWS, we've connected SciNet earlier this week with the Amazon cloud, such that Japanese universities and research institutions can make easy use of the Amazon cloud. It's humbling to see how we can collaborate, how we can help drive the next generation of science to become more data-centric. Jim Gray called that the fourth paradigm. And it's really interesting to see how many sciences that were not traditionally data-centric, I mean, not the hardcore sciences like biology or physics, but that even sciences, such as psychology, archaeology, and others, are becoming more data-driven. And we're really proud to help these organizations to become more data-centric by giving them the infrastructure that they need to work on. I hope that you enjoyed this morning. I think we had 4 terrific customers on stage that told you how they were using AWS. And with that, I'd like to thank you for your attention and hope you have a wonderful day with lots of learning to come. Thank you very much.